I've been talking to more and more people about an intense attraction they feel towards someone they met online who lives far away, or maybe they met them at a party and they were in town for a short time. It's a situation where they met the person once. This person lives states away, sometimes countries away, and now they're back home and the two are exchanging text messages, maybe FaceTiming every single day. And the level of importance, the hyper-focus of this connection, at least through the eyes of the person I'm speaking to, is growing. They'll tell me that they're waiting and waiting to see this person again. The waiting doesn't cool these feelings down, it actually heats them up. The people I'm talking to feel a sense of loyalty and fidelity towards this other person, even though they only met them for a short time. I'm Margaret Limerence. I'm a therapist. I've been in practice for over 30 years. Let's talk about long distance connections and how they can sometimes hold us back. The internet has changed the landscape of how we meet and how we interact. If you're single, if you're looking for a romantic partner, you don't need to meet someone in your town, in your area, or in your state. And for a lot of us, that can feel like freedom, possibility. It sounds romantic. The whole country, the whole world is available to you. However, it also creates a very specific trap, and that's what I want to talk about today. Because I've spoken to so many people who have a deep attraction to someone that they primarily see through a screen or through text messages. These connections can feel particularly intense. Dr. Jack Morin, a psychotherapist who spent his career researching partnerships, explained that attraction plus obstacles equals desire. Meaning that when the object of your attraction is out of reach, when they're hard to get to, your desire for them is going to increase. Those blocks, those hurdles actually create more want. And you can see this play out in so many different types of relationships. But today we're really going to focus on long distance connections because that's a huge common obstacle, distance. There are tens, hundreds, maybe even thousands of miles between the two of you. And every one of those miles can increase a feeling of obsession over them. The distance isn't getting in the way of how you feel about this other person. It's actually producing a lot of your emotions. The person who lives 3 states away isn't necessarily more special than a person you can just see every weekend, but they are harder to meet up with. And your brain can translate this hard to reach into a belief that they're more valuable because your in-person interactions are more rare. So their worth increases, wanting them increases. And then when wanting and desire kind of tips over to obsession, then the person is dealing with feelings of limerence. The psychologist Dorothy Tanoff coined that term. Limerence is an obsessive state of attraction that's correlated with a lot of intrusive thinking and hyperfocus, where you're rereading old texts from the other person, trying to figure out how they feel about you, replaying conversations that you've had, imagining a future with them, trying to figure out how you could be around each other more and more. The other person is constantly in your head, whether you're daydreaming about them and what the future holds, or wondering what it means that you texted them half an hour ago and they still haven't answered. It can feel enormous and overwhelming. It's not the same as love, and it's not the same as a crush. And limerence can feel so strange from a person who's dealing with it because it doesn't grow because the other person's giving you attention. It grows because you have an enormous attraction for them and you don't really know what's going on with them at the same time. In the situation where there's distance, you don't see the person every day. Your interactions are more sparse. And because of that, there's kind of gaps. You don't exactly know what they're like when they come home cranky after work. You're not dealing with traffic together. You're not making a lot of decisions over where you're going to eat for dinner. So your mind fills in the gaps. You imagine what it would be like to be in traffic together, what you'd talk about. And then it can become very romanticized. They get built up into be your perfect partner, increasing the attraction and obsession. These gaps, waiting for when you're going to see them, the space in between you, the rarity of in-person interactions, that all fuels limerence, this obsessive attraction. So if you're experiencing this, and a lot of people are, I want you to really think about who are you connecting to? If you're rarely in the room with this person, or maybe you've never been in the room with them, you only met online. If you've never felt like day-to-day chemistry with them, if you don't know what their hobbies are, how they handle stress, what they're like when they're tired, how they react when you're tired, if the majority of what you know of them is words you've read on a screen, and maybe your imagination is kind of building them up, is it possible that you're becoming deeply attached to a version of this person that you've created in your head? And maybe that version doesn't exist in real life. I really think texting, interacting primarily online, messaging back and forth, I think that all feeds this sort of limerence. And I have a view of texting that many people might find unpopular. Texting, DMing, messaging, that's all the lowest form of communication we have. Texting is great for basic information. I'm running late. Here's where you should meet me. Can you get this from the store? Did you remember to give the cat its flea medication? But so many people I speak to are conducting an entire relationship primarily through text. That's how they're communicating deep feelings, sometimes very important conversations, or they're having big fights over text and they're unable to reach resolution, which makes complete sense because texts are so easy to misread. You don't get the tone, you don't see the other person's face, you can't read their body language, you don't know whether they're being distracted by other things around them. I think texting is like passing notes in class. It can feel like profound connection, like you have the entirety of the other person's focus. And if you're texting every day, multiple times a day, it can really feel as if you have a meaningful connection to this person because you're sharing about the entirety of your day and you're hearing about what's going on with them. And at the same time, you don't really know how this person actually shows up in the world. They might like the same movies as you, they might like the same books as you, they might have really interesting ideas, but you don't know how they'll treat you if you show up late or if you're in traffic together. You don't know where they are when they're typing to you. You don't know who they're with. It's hard to judge how connected they feel to you because you don't see them that often. If you're really feeling a deep connection to someone who lives far away, you have to make sure that you're speaking to them regularly on FaceTime, over the phone, and ideally making the time, making the effort to see them in person, because that's the best way to know that you're connecting with them, that you're really getting to know them, and not just an image or a version of them that you're creating in your head. I remember years ago I had met someone or I had gotten set up with them. I don't know how I connected with them initially. It was either through someone, maybe it was online, I don't know. But we spoke on the phone for about 2 weeks. And on the phone, they were great. Easygoing, funny, engaging, terrific. A voice on the other end of the phone. That's how long ago it was. No FaceTime. Then when we met in person, they were completely different. Very shut down. And there was like no connection anymore. I remember wondering for a little bit, was this really the same person I was talking to on the phone? Because in person, there was nothing there. And if we had spoken on the phone for months, I wouldn't have known that because how they were able to present themselves on the phone was so much different than how they were in person. And to build a real connection, you need to know that. So notice, in my case, even talking on the phone was not enough. You see, every step, every time you level up your communication pattern, that tells you more. Texting tells you less than the phone tells you less than FaceTiming or video chatting, and video tells you less than being in the same room with someone. Being in the same room with a potential partner tells you so much more than texting, talking over the phone, FaceTiming. It tells you more than all three of those things together. You need to be able to see the person, interact with them, build shared experiences, see what it's like to date them in real life. And distance can also do another thing to you. It turns you into an analyst when you can't be around them. You start sort of decoding them instead. Trying to figure out, how do they really feel about you? Where is this going? What did they mean in that message? When are we ever going to meet up? They keep saying soon. When is that? Have they told their friends? Have they told their family about me? If you see someone day to day, if you see them weekly, you're going to know the answers to many of those questions just by being around them. It's just going to be more clear. Someone living far away, you might find yourself trying to figure this all out on your own by looking at their presence on social media, by replaying conversations in your head. They said one thing one day, they said something else another day. What does it all mean? And I want you to know that analyzing, that's all limerent behavior. So it's sort of investigating them, trying to find out more answers about them online, trying to figure out their attachment style, trying to figure out what the blocks might be to you being in a real relationship. On your own, trying to figure out how to get this person to open up, how to get them to communicate better, how to help them evolve into a better partner. That's all hyper-focus. And the hyper-focus keeps them in the center of your attention and makes them out into a larger character than maybe they should be. Focus makes it harder to date other people. You might find yourself feeling like you're doing something wrong, keeping your profile up on a dating app or seeing other people, even if you have no promise or no sign of a larger commitment from them. I know so many people who don't want to date anybody else because they're waiting for their long distance connection to become more. What you need to do, instead of analyzing them, turn the focus around back to you and ask yourself, am I getting enough out of this connection as it is today? With this distance, with this level of communication, am I getting enough? Or am I in a waiting space? And that's not the same as I'm holding space because I know this connection is going to grow into what I need. You don't want to be holding on to toxic hope that this person is going to show up as the partner you've always dreamed of. You want to use your rational brain. Is this person who I need them to be? Is this connection what I need it to be right now? You can't build a relationship on toxic hope. Look at it honestly. How often do you actually see each other rather than talk about seeing each other? Do they often make promises that, yes, they're going to meet you here or they're going to come to see you? Promises that they really, in the moment, intend on following through on, and then they can't follow up on it. Because yes, often people truly intend to follow through on something, but then there's a block or there's a problem or there's an issue and they don't. And maybe that happens because they have family members they need to take care of, or they don't have the money to come to see you across the country. That's all very understandable and anybody would get it. And at the same time, you still have to look at that, because if I'm dating someone in Texas, I'm not leaving my kid here to go be with them. And if they have a kid in Texas, they're not leaving them there to come see me. Do we then hold out until our kids have flown the nest? And what if their kid moves to California and my kid moves to New Hampshire? I still might want to be in New Hampshire, not in California. Sometimes we have to let go of things that might not work out, even if they're a near miss connection, so we can find something that works for us. It's a very rational, realistic, and difficult thing to do. They might have very valid reasons for keeping you waiting, but you're still waiting. When you picture this relationship, what do you see? Memories that the two of you have actually made together, or ideas and hopes that you've built up in your head? Someone you're just texting with, you're not dating. You can't be exclusive or committed to someone who's just texting you. I've known many people who feel this intense bond to someone that they're primarily texting and sharing ideas with, and then they feel unable to see someone else. Everyone else kind of pales into comparison to this long distance person, and often because they've created an image of them in their head, filling in blanks about them, so they become an idealized partner. So anybody that they meet that actually shows up for a date just can't compete with that. Remind yourself, if you're not seeing this person regularly, if you're really just trading messages back and forth, you're not in a relationship. You're waiting to see them regularly. And you really can't assess the level of connection unless you're together. You can't really measure the chemistry until you're together over a period of time. So if you've been discussing meeting for months, let alone years, ask yourself, is meeting actually likely? Or is this whole idea of a real relationship with this person just a fantasy? Is it likely that we're going to get to a space where we can see each other weekly? And if it could be real, if it is possible, propose something concrete, a safe, low-pressure meeting with a real date on the calendar with a time. If you don't know them that well, even if you've been talking online for a long time, still make it in a public place. Make sure a friend knows where you're going. Take your own transportation. Know that you can text someone if there's an issue. If you're going to travel, make sure you have your own room, your own place to go. And then really be realistic about genuine hurdles: money, kids, schedules, careers. If you both work for companies and you have to be in the office, can you be together? Vagueness between the two of you, not being clear, delaying difficult conversations. That's all going to keep you in sort of a fantasy haze. One real, maybe difficult conversation will tell you more than 6 months of texting just about life in general. I also want everyone to be careful of another thing. If every plan to meet sort of falls apart, if they're ever asking for gift cards or financial help, just be aware that there are scammers out there. That can happen to men and women, and you really need to take that seriously because it can be very costly. And the last thing, if you look at this long distance connection and you realize it's unlikely that the two of you will ever be able to be together consistently, and you know you need to break it off, you still may need to mourn it. The grief is real. Even if this relationship mostly happened through text and you had built them up into more in your head, you did build a habit of imagining a future with this person. They may have done the same. And these habits, the daydreams of this becoming more, that's all going to need to be rewound over time. You'll miss them, you'll miss the texting every day, and you'll also miss the daydreaming of this version of them that you created. And those losses do deserve your care, and it's okay to want or need support as you move through them. But by letting go, you're creating room for a real relationship where you can grow and evolve together. Tell me in the comments, have you ever felt an intense connection to someone that you really only knew online? Someone that you never met in person? What did you learn from it? I'm Margaret Limerence, I'm a therapist. I've been in practice for over 30 years. And if you like this video, hit subscribe for my next one.